Hi everyone and welcome to episode 16 of the Spring Snowflake podcast. My name is Sophie and you can find me online as sophiexuan on Instagram and Ravelry, sophiexuan, or there is an Instagram profile for this podcast which is a Spring Snowflake. I pretty much only post on there when I record an episode or if there's something particularly special I want to bring to your attention. My day-to-day stuff goes on sophiexuan. If you want to get in touch with me about this podcast, then the easiest way is to send me a direct message either on Instagram or on Ravelry, or you can email me, which is sophie@spring-snowflake.co.uk. Thank you to my husband for setting that up. So today we are going to talk about my finished object. There's one this week. Hilariously, again, I don't have it with me. I'm so bad at this. I give it away and then I go, oh yeah, I need to podcast that. Oh well. I then have a few works in progress, new things, there's a few. It was my birthday last week. Actually, hilariously, none of my birthday stuff I have to show you because it's either en route or in the freezer. More on that later. And then a little bit of a spotlight, slightly different spotlight this time for me, and then a bit of a life update. So, I'm hoping we won't go over the hour. Last time was quite a big one. So, first things first, what am I wearing? Nothing knitwear, nothing crochet. But, keen-eyed among you will see that I am wearing my crochet necklace from Lana Bouchop. I got this as part of a pick and mix, I think it's pick and mix box, specifically for crocheters. So I got the necklace, I got a pin badge which was neon pink yarn ball, I got some postcards, some stickers. Very good. I don't know if she still sells them because I did buy it about 18 months ago, along with a Christmas box as well. Anyway, so that's my ode to, because it's too blooming warm. It's actually it's warmed up in the UK now. I am recording on the 22nd of May, and over the last couple of days we've broken like 19 degrees. It's a big thing here, it's a big thing. But yeah, so very, not very, very warm. My temperature blanket, which I'm not showing you this time, has got up to green so far. We had some yellow squares over the Easter bank holiday weekend, so it hasn't broken that yet, but yes, it's nice. It's actually quite nice, but it does mean I'm not wearing any knitwear for the podcast today because studio lights as well. So, no. Right, so first things first, I'm going to keep looking over there because that's where my computer is and I've actually done my show notes. Second time running. Who am I? Who actually am I? So yeah, they're on my screen over there, and I'm hoping it won't go to sleep on me. But yeah, I've also got Instagram up as well to remind me of things that I've got for the new thing segment. I'm too organised today. What's going on? I am filming on a preschool morning. So my little girl, I think I said last time I started at preschool, she's loving it now. We had a few wobbles, but she's loving it. But it means actually I get 4 mornings a week now. And even though they're shorter mornings, I'm actually getting a lot more done. So first things first is finished objects. And my finished object I'm just going to do a big picture. I think the only picture I've got of it is when it was blocking. And this thing is massive. So I finished the Winter Hold shawl, which is a pattern by Hannah of the Cozy Cottage Crochet podcast. Well, she's the Cozy Cottage Crochet on Ravelry and Instagram. No, she's the Cozy Cottage on Ravelry and the Cozy Cottage Crochet on Instagram. She also has the Cozy Cottage Crochet podcast and it's awesome. She goes out every 2 weeks, most of the time. But this is her chunky, bulky weight shawl that is an ode to a computer game. And I can't remember what the computer game is, but she loves it. Skyrim? Is it Skyrim, Hannah? Anyway, but Winterhold is a city in the game, which is really cold, so she made a giant blanket shawl. And I made it out of paint box, wool mix, chunky. Let's see if that's going to focus. There we go. So the colours, there's this one. This is I want to say seafoam, but I'm probably going to be wrong. So this is the lighter blue. I have show notes on my blog, and that links to my project page, so you can see exactly what it is. And this one is navy blue. Or is it midnight blue? Can't remember. So it's 50% acrylic, 50% wool. In my last podcast, I did say that the reason why I'd done that is because she was moving into a dementia care home in the south of France. She hasn't. She's now living with my mum. So things changed, circumstances changed, and she's ended up coming over and living with my mum. It may change again, but I gave her the shawl on Monday, so today is Wednesday, when we went to see her. We went to see, Amelia and I got in the car and drove to just outside Maidenhead to a National Trust place called Cliveden. No idea. It looks like it should be Cliveden, but I think it's Cliveden. Lovely manor house, which is now a hotel, and beautiful gardens and grounds. So we potted around there, 4 generations of us. So yeah, my mum drove up from Kent and we drove down from Oxfordshire. It was quite a nice kind of midpoint. And Amelia had a lot of fun running around, and Mammy, she did all right. She was a little warm, I think it was quite sunny. Had a nice lunch. La la la, I'm going into life update. Anyway, so I gave it to her on Monday. And I think she likes it. We'll see. She didn't get it out of the bag or anything, so I'll probably try and get an update from my mum at some point. But it is huge. This thing is massive. And I stopped about 7 rows short from the end, because my mummy is a tiny person. She's about 5'1", and I'm 5'7", and quite I'm a larger person. My mammy is like teeny. She's always been tiny. And this thing was big on me, so it'll be a proper blanket shawl on her. Anyway, so that's that one. The yarn was very nice to work with. I think the wool helped for me. There is a lot of fluff that comes off it. I don't know if you can see. There's quite a halo on it. And there were... You don't expect it from commercial yarn. I don't know why, particularly one that's got that much acrylic in it, but there were like bits of hay and stuff that came out of it when I was making it, so that was quite interesting. So yes, so that is my only FO, the Winterhold shawl. Right, moving on to whips. Let's start with my handbag project. And I've got a new one, which I'll show you new things later. So this is my little grey girl. The grey girl, little grey girl. Oh my god. Little grey girl. Look at the tag. Triangle sheepy bag. And then here is my Fanula shawl, which is for the Woolin Make-Along. We're getting ready for the Woolin Yarn Festival in 4 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time. It's not that far away, which is exciting. And I've got quite far. So I think I'm on... I've just finished number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I've done 9 sections so far. So it will look like that with a top band along this end. And I'll have 14 sections eventually, so it's going to be quite big. And I'm still on my first ball. Look, there's still quite a lot of this left. This is the Wool Kitchen Merino Silk 50/50 4-ply in the colourway Wild Swimming. I love how it's worked up. I'm just going to show you a bit of a close-up of the shawl. And if you look closely, you can see kind of green and yellow speckles in there. So the blue and the grey is the kind of main colour, but there is kind of green and like little greeny yellow spots, which I just love. And it goes really well with the story of the shawl, which is all about children who have a horrible stepmother who is an enchantress and turns them into swans. I'm totally paraphrasing that, but yes, I love it. The pattern is by Ava Nee, who is an Irish designer who specialises in short hook Tunisian crochet. So she has her own language basically when it comes to Tunisian crochet. So you do have to kind of learn a new vocab when you're doing this pattern. But she has a lot of videos. She put a lot of IGTV videos up for this particular pattern, and she's also got some YouTube tutorials as well. So once you kind of get the hang of it, and I've now memorised this pattern, I don't look at the pattern anymore, you've got the kind of increase section, you've got a lace section, you've got your, I've got fluff flying about, you've got the fan section, and then you whiz down and start the next section. So there's only really 3 kind of techniques to learn. So yeah, I'm really loving this pattern. This comes in my bag with me, and I just whip it out when I have a few spare minutes. Yeah, I can do a section pretty quickly now, which is quite nice. So yes, loving it, really enjoying it. The yarn is awesome as well. Next one is for another make-along, which is the Solidarity Swap make-along, and this is also something that goes into new things. So in my Stitches Tees Crocheter cube bag, it's not really a cube, is it? What is it? It's a rectangle, 3D rectangular shape. Is that a cuboid? Cuboid? Cube? It's not a cube, because a cube is a square 3D. It's going to annoy me, so I'm going to look it up in the edit. So I'll put it down here. God, Year 9 Shape and Space. It's like literally, it's here, trying to get into my brain. Oh, if anyone doesn't understand what I mean by Year 9 Shape and Space, I don't know if they still do it, but Year 9 is when you're 13, 14 in school, in the UK. And your maths lessons are split up into different themes, and Shape and Space was looking at literally shapes and spaces. So and working out how things work together. Yeah, maths. So yeah, so this is in my Stitches Tees Crocheter bag, black on black bag. I love this thing. It's got a couple of different pins on it from them and Vicky Brown, who is one half of Stitches Tees. I've also got my Geordie Knits. Oh, let's hide and see if this... Oh, it's not going to, is it? Geordie Knits badge, which I got from Katie. Oh my god, my brain for names. Of the Geordie Knits podcast. If you haven't watched her, go and watch her. She's awesome. And this is a new thing that's coming off. Oh, good lord. Right, I'll just pin this back on. This is a new thing which I will talk about later, but it is a Crochet Luna shawl project badge which has massive glare on it. There we go. So in here is my Solidarity Swap cowl project. Now, this thing, so I knew I wanted to use the yarn that I got. Now, I'll talk about the yarn more in my new things because you haven't seen it, but I wanted to use the yarn. This yarn is The Farmer's Daughter, which is a dye based out of Montana in the US. Let's just make sure that is. Yeah, Montana. Farmer's Daughter's fibres. And it's a squish fingering, 100% superwash merino, 438 yards for 100 grams, and it is in the colour York. Okay, so that's the yarn that I got in my Solidarity Swap, and I'll talk more about that later. And I knew, as soon as I saw that I wanted to pair it with, what's going on here? My Third Volt Yarns Macarena. So Lola's yarn, which I bought. This is the Macarena, is the birthday colourway for the Fibre Lounge. So I went to their birthday party and I bought the Fibre Lounge colourway. So I thought these two, why am I putting them away, would go really well together. Look at that on camera. I love that. So, desperately searching for a pattern that took about 800, just over, meters of yarn. Because the Lola's yarn is her librarian sock, which is 425 meters per 100 grams, and 438 yards is about 400 meters for Farmer's Daughter. So 825 meters. I was looking for a pattern. Looked in my queue, nothing was kind of calling out to me. Then I went down the giant rabbit hole that is the bundle on the Solidarity Swap group. So they've been amazing, the guys who've organised the Solidarity Swap. If you go on their Ravelry group, there is a couple of bundles of yarn dyers and pattern makers from, I think it is just BIPOC, BAME, so Black and Indigenous people of colour, or Black, Asian and minority ethnic people. So BAME is a UK term, BIPOC is a US, somewhat worldwide term. all that aside, they have this bundle of makers of colour, let's call it, just to make it slightly more simplified. And in there, so you can see all the different makers, but you can also do an advanced search via Ravelry of all of their patterns, and there's thousands of them. So I went into that search. I put my meterage in. I put I put 4-ply fingering, any weight, no weight specified, or any weight, because those are the options as well. I think I also put in sport weight and light fingering. So I gave myself as much options as possible, and I went through every single one, and there was only one that I liked, and that was the Burst Into Bloom shawl by Tina Say. She's been quite a vocal person on all of the stuff that's been going on, has made herself quite vulnerable. If you go into her space, be respectful. And it's a beautiful, beautiful shawl. I'll put a picture there. I started it. There's some stockinette, there's some garter, and then there's a lace bit. And I got through the stockinette, I went, I got through the garter, and got to the lace. I did almost all the lace and went, I'm not enjoying myself. This is too much of a thinker. I'll show you a picture. I'll post a picture of where I got to. It looked beautiful. It looked really lovely. Particularly the Macarena knits up in stockinette. Oh, it's just gorgeous. But I wasn't enjoying myself at all. It kind of felt like a bit of an obligation knit. And I don't know whether it's... I don't think it's the pattern. I think it's where I'm at head-wise at the moment. More on that later. So I went back to Ravelry, and I went, do you know what, let's just look at all the patterns. And I kind of went, do you know what, my head's not in the right space for knitting at the moment. I'm in a bit of a knitting funk at the moment. So let's just look for crochet. And I put Tunisian crochet in first, just to see if, because I'm loving my Tunisian at the moment. I think that's to do with Fanula, because it's just such a nice medium technique. It's just such a nice technique for me at the moment. I don't know why, I'm really enjoying it. I've actually ordered myself some Tunisian crochet hooks from Pearl Essence, which should be here hopefully today. That'd be nice. And so yeah. So I looked for Tunisian, nothing really kind of spoke to me for a 2-colour shawl, because I wanted to use these 2 colours together. And then I went, you know what, I'm going to go to the Crochet Project, because they've got some lovely patterns on there, and they've got quite a few 2-colour shawls, or shawls that could be 2 colours. And no, I don't think I've printed out the front cover of this. I really haven't. I'll pop a picture. I chose the Mist Kingfisher shawl. Now, quite a lot of people that I know have made this shawl, so I don't know why I didn't think about it. I'll pop a photo of theirs. And long story short, I've started a Mist Kingfisher. So it's got quite a lot of texture. I am midway through a row, because that's what I do. And there is that annoying thing of when you have a crescent shawl, you've got the little bump at the start. So you start off here, and then you have these short rows that come off. And oh my god, I love that. On camera, that looks so cool. I have purposely chosen the order of the colours so that the dark teal from Farmer's Daughter, which is my Solidarity swap colour, will be the kind of, there's a big swathe of one of your yarns in this pattern, and I purposely chose that to be the solid colour, because I want that to be the focus, seeing as that's the yarn that I was bought. And the whole point of the Solidarity swap make along is that you either use the pattern you were bought as part of the Solidarity swap, or you use the yarn that you were sent. So I want to make it a feature. So yeah, that's that. I am 1.5 pages into the pattern, but obviously it grows, so it's not, I'm not a third of the way into the pattern. So yeah, I'll be working on that. The Solidarity swap make along ends at the end of May, but you don't have to finish. So as long as you take part in the Ravelry thread and chat and talk about what you're doing and interact and all that kind of stuff, that's how you kind of take part. So that's that. I'm going to put the pattern back in it later because it's a bit of a faff. Okay, next one. The cardigan that lived. This is kind of in the naughty corner at the moment. I said I was in a bit of a knitting funk. I really want to finish this. I just don't want to pick it up. I don't know why. So, it's in my Hide and Hammer for River Knits bag. It's got some fabulous scuffs on the leather now. I can't wait to help New out on her stand at Woollin. She's got some fabulous ideas. We've been talking about it and getting very excited, which is very good. Right, so, oh, there's yarn everywhere. Wait. Okay, my camera just died because it shuts off at 25 minutes. I should really remember that, and I've just had to reset it again. So the framing might be different. Anyway, there are needles everywhere in this thing. So I have finished the main colour of one sleeve. Look at all my increases. And I am now onto the cuff. I invested in some of these Addy, oh, what are they called? They're basically DPNs, but they've got a flexible bit in the middle of them. So they're like DPNs, but they're not like DPNs. They're a bit more easy, for me, they're easier to use, and I've loved using them to do the sleeve. So that's been a revelation. So I might actually invest in a set for socks and see if I like them. So yeah, I'm on the ribbing for the cuff, and then because I couldn't wait for some reason to finish that, I also have started the next sleeve. So it is on short circulars. It's bunched up on short circulars at the moment because there's quite a lot of material, and I have lost one of my needle covers, which is annoying. I think that just dropped off when I opened the bag. Oh well. So I've done a couple of increases on that. Ooh. Yeah, a couple of increases on that, as you can see from the... so as I do an increase on here, I take one off of here, so that when there's nothing left on here, it should be the same length on here. That's the theory. I've also ripped out the bottom rib, because I don't think it's long enough. So I'm going to add another couple of inches onto the main colour, and then... So yeah, I had hoped that this would be done by Woollin, but to be honest, the fact that I just don't want to pick it up at the moment, I don't think it is going to be ready for Woollin. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. It might be too hot anyway in June to wear it, but yes. That's my sweater that lived. It was a test, not sweater, cardigan that lived. It was a test. She's released the pattern now, so if you would like to buy it, go and buy it. And I'll talk a bit more about Truly Hooked later. Last one is my Advent Scraps Tunisian blanket, which is a made-up pattern by me. I've basically done, each column is 16 stitches of Tunisian simple stitch, and you just add more columns as you go along. So I have actually added some to this. So I have finished column 5. Yes, finished column 5, which means I've finished day 10. To square everything up at the top, I'm adding in scraps of 4-ply with a strand of white drops Fable, just to square them off at the top. This is not long enough to be a blanket and won't be long enough to be a blanket by the time I'm finished with the width. So I have ordered Vicky Brown's Advent Calendar for 2019, and those will go on the end, and that should make it long enough. So it'll be 2 years worth of Advent. And I've started column 6. So this is day 11 from Vicky Brown. This is day 11 from the Fibre Lounge, who I don't think are doing an Advent calendar this year, which is sad, but I totally get it. It's a lot of work to do an Advent calendar, particularly for them, because they were coordinating 13 dyers. So yeah, it's quite a big undertaking, and I think it's, well, it's not easier, but I think it's slightly simpler if it's just you as one dyer doing an Advent calendar, because okay, you've got to do all the work, but yeah, coordinating quite a lot of people to kind of do stuff all together is, I think, it's quite hard. So it's in my me made bag. This is the Finch bucket, which I made as a test for her metric pattern, which she's now released into the wild. It's not perfect. I've got my Crochet Clan badge on it, which I got from Claudia at Yarndale. I've also got a Brownies pom-pom keyring attached to it, and my, I think this is Joanne Hawker crochet Tools of Mass Creation pin, which I love. So all my minis, I don't know if I'll be able to show you. All my minis are in there. So yes, I love it. I'm really enjoying this now. I've just like picked it up again after a couple of months of not working on it. Definitely in a Tunisian 5 at the moment. Yeah, it's quite exciting. Right, those are my works in progress. So let's move on to new things. So these were in the freezer. Every time I say freezer, I'm going to explain it now. But basically, what I do with yarn that comes into the house from fairs or online sales or whatever, destashes, any yarn that comes into my house that has natural fibres in it goes into my freezer so that I can make sure that there are no moth eggs coming into my house and into my stash. Stranded Dye Works were having a sale, so Amy has started bringing in some new colourways, so she decided that she was going to try and clear her shop of things that just weren't selling, basically. So she put a few of her skeins on sale. Not massive discounts, but enough that I went, ooh, yes please. So I bought 2 skeins from her. One that was a Merino DK, which is 100% superwash Merino DK, in her Frostbite colourway. Oh, there we go. It's a grey base with blues and purples. And these are my colours. Like, this is kind of a bit more vibrant than my Fanula shawl, but yeah. So this is 230 metres for 115 grams, so it's a slightly bigger skein hank of wool. So that's lovely, it's really soft. And then I really wanted to try out her Gloom colourway. I have a feeling I was like, I want a nice indie dyed grey, like a tonal, slightly variegated grey. And this is her Merino Aran in Gloom. And I've got I think it is another Stranded Dye Works, or it might be someone else's, like a very variegated colour Aran, or it might be worsted, that I think would go very well with this and make either a really cool cowl or a hat. Or I might just use this in a hat. Oh, actually Kelborn Woolens, they do a monthly free hat pattern, and this might go into one of those. So this is Gloom 100% Superwash Merino Aran, 166 metres for 100 grams. So that was that. Then we have, let's do my solidarity swap. So, where's the yarn? There it is. And I'll pop a picture of my solidarity swap. It's got a project bag, which I'll show you in a minute, that came on the same day, that's not from my solidarity swap. But yes, my partner was based in the US, so I sent over a skein of yarn from Third Volt Yarns for her, BAME dyer in the UK. That's Lola, so I sent her a skein and a few other bits over to the US. She's in North Carolina, I think, yeah, North Carolina, and I got my package almost at the deadline. She was waiting for stuff to come in, and this, so I will give you a bit more of a look at this yarn. So this is Farmer's Daughter Fibres in her 100% Superwash Merino Squish Fingering. It's in the York colourway. York is one of my favourite cities in the UK. Oh god, it's not a cathedral. Minster! The York Minster is awesome. It's just the most imposing building over this medieval town. It reminds me of Canterbury, where I lived for a long time. This is the yarn label. Farmer's Daughter's Fibres. Now, The lady who runs this in Montana is, her heritage is Native American. And I think she's still very much involved in that community. So very much part of the group of BIPOC dyers in the US. So that was really cool to kind of look at. I went on her website and read her story, and please do go and have a look. I'll put a, have I put a link? I haven't put a link in my show notes, but I'll put a link in my show notes to her website so you can go and read her story. And I thought it was great that I could pair that yarn with yarn from my indie dyer, from a maker of colour in the UK. Obviously different skein to the one that I bought for my swap partner, but yes. And then the other things I got in my swap package, so I got, and these I've been using them already, a lovely little pencil case, which I'm now using as a Notions pouch. I don't know where there's no label from it, but it is, you could use it as a wash bag because it's got a plasticky lining, so that's really cool. I got a little pin badge, which says Gauge Before Rage. Love it. Another little kind of canvassy project bag, drawstring, and it's made in China, but it's called Pretty Cheap CHEEP project bag from Fia. It is made in China. That's their label. Oh. There you go. What else? In my parcel, Stitcher GPS. I've never seen this before. This is called Stitcher's GPS, and it's basically like little post-it, or rather reusable stickers that you can mark your place on a pattern. So if I show you the pattern I'm working on at the moment, I've got one on there to show me where that I'm doing the bit above it. So it works quite well. They're really good, and they do stick. Like, I've been moving it around and everything. It's not losing its stick. What else? I got a little sachet of soap, which has already been used. Oh, and I got some stitch marker, or placeholder stitch markers. So I got a selection of these little brass triangles, and then these little silver, I'm assuming they're not silver, ovals. So that's really cool. I think that's it. Yeah, I'll pop a picture of all of them, plus the project bag I'm about to show you, on the screen now, so you can see them all laid out as a lovely flat lay on my carpet. So yeah, so that was really lovely, and I found a new indie dyer that I think is really cool. So I'm planning on going over to the US next September for Rhinebeck, if I can sort it, get tickets, find somewhere to stay, blah blah blah. So yeah, I will hopefully see if I can get a couple more skeins of hers delivered to wherever I'm staying, if she's not taking part in anything Rhinebeck involving. Anyway, so next one, Thimble and Thread Make. You know I've already got a project bag of hers, one of her cube project bags. She was having a fundraiser for her sister was... Okay, so Tracy of Thimble and Thread Make, her sister was running the London Marathon. I knew it was a race, for PTSD 999. So it's a charity that supports those in the emergency services who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. So I think her sister worked for them. Yeah, it's the only organisation in the UK that supports all members of the emergency services, both serving and retired, voluntaries, family and friends. It's run by volunteers and receives no government funding. She works as a crime scene investigator for British Transport Police, so tube stations, railways, things like that. There is a really difficult job. She was part of the Manchester, she went to the Manchester Arena after the terrorist attack there, and is recently working on the top of the Grenfell Tower after the horrific fire. So the charity helps people who've worked with large-scale incidents, but also those who developed PTSD from doing the job. They support people in the aftermath of dealing with horrendous things that most of us turn and run away from. These people are those running towards that happen to help, what's happened to help, and they need support afterwards. So yeah, so Tracy decided that she was going to offer a number of her teal canvas cube project bags at a reduced price, and all of that money went to charity. So I was like, well, I'm going to do that, because yeah. So this is the little card that came with it. That's Tracy's logo with a lovely little note saying thank you. And this is the bag. It's got my my badge from my solidarity swap in it, and look at this lining. It's so not my colour, but it really works. Pink, 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 pink. One of the great things about Tracy's bags is she has these little poppers, so you can get inside the lining and you can put your pin badges on your bag, but it won't interfere with your project. Because how many of us have had pin backs, particularly the butterfly pin backs, snag our yarn in projects before when we've put our stuff on our project, our pins on our project bags. So there you go. It's a very roomy bag. In my other one is holding my fuss-free blanket and has lots of room. And this, I don't know what this is going to hold. It'll probably hold my Truly Hooked blanket once it grows out of its current bag. Yeah, I think so. So yeah, and it folds up really nicely. Right. Then, last but no means least, and there's a little bit of footage to go with this, so do you know what? I'll show you the video first. So, I went to the Ravelry open day. So, Ravelry have just moved into a new studio space as part of... It's part of an old defence works. Oh, I can't remember what it's called. I'll put where they are on the screen. And I went to their open day, which was them opening up their space to the public for the first time. And they kind of did a mini yarn festival at the same time. So people like, Faye from Knit It, Hook It, Craft It, Crochet Circle podcast, Faye DH Designs was there, Johnny from Garthenor was there with his vintage sock machine. I've got some footage in the vlog. There was Travel Knitter, there was Lola from Third Vault Yarns, there was You and Ply, and there was I think Becky's old knitting group, who make these amazing like crocheted and knitted food items that you'll see in the vlog. So that was really nice. It was I took a little bit of vlog footage which I'll pop in now so you can see what it's like. Good morning. It's really bright, so everything looks really dark in the car. I'm in Northampton, well just outside Northampton. I'm in my husband's car again because that's how every vlog starts. Yeah, and I'm going to the Ravelry open day, so I'm taking you along with me. Hilariously, I don't know if you can see this, but the car next to me has chocolate on its windshield. I'm a little bit confused. But behind me, I'll show you in a minute, I'll do a bit of a pan, but behind me there is a bit of canal, I think that's how Becky described it. It's not actually attached to the canal. I just went over the Grand Union Canal as I came in, so anyway, come along with me. Here's the pan. So this is the bit of canal. And it's huge, isn't it? I can't remember what this place is called. Ordnance Depot. Very cool. Right, I'm going to start the walk. That says Faye on it. I'm coming.
This is what we need for these.
I totally need one of these.
A lot quicker than doing it back on, isn't it?
Yeah, how long does it take to
It takes about half an hour for a pair of socks.
and that includes heels and toes? Wow.
And then the toe needs to be closed as soon as it comes off the machine. But that's exactly the same for kitchen extension. So I'm just about to do a heel. So by lifting half the needles up, you're only knitting half the machine, so you basically are just knitting round the corner. Yeah. So I'm shaping it by lifting up one needle. So I'm reducing by one stitch with each row.
So it's a short row heel?
Exactly.
Ah. I just love that it's a dental tool.
This one's actually an original machine tool, but yeah, dental tool.
Love it.
I've yet to find a use for the little mirror that
Okay, and now I'm going to show you what I got. So, I got in contact with Faith beforehand and said, actually I think it was on one of the global hookups. Yes. Oh! If you don't watch the Crochet Circle podcast and you want to get involved in, you don't have like a knit night or anything local to you and you want to kind of come and talk to lots of people, Faye does a monthly global hookup. You don't have to crochet to be on the global hookup. Basically, you log in, it's a couple of hours on Zoom, which is a really lovely kind of video conferencing platform. You don't have to have your camera on, you don't have to have your microphone on. You can just log in and just turn off all those and just listen. It's a lot of people have come in on one session, just listened, and then come in on the next session and joined in. It's a lovely group. We're not that big. I think the biggest it's ever got to is about 25, and that's doesn't happen very often. Then normally it's about 12 of us, all sat there with a drink, normally alcoholic, and our project, and we just chat. We don't even chat a lot about what we're making. The last one we talked about delicacies of Northern Ireland and what Hogwarts house you're in. We actually had people doing the Pottermore sorting hat quiz while we were in the hookup. It was great. So if you haven't heard of that before, please do go and have a look on the Crochet Circle podcast Instagram feed or on their Ravelry regroup, and all the details are on there. Anyway, so yes, I'd spoken to Faye about this. I've got 4 current. Well, I had 4 of her blocking boards, and her blocking boards are quite big. I'll show you in a minute. And they are the best blocking boards I've come across. They are massive. You can't even see it. What's brilliant is they've got 2 straight edges as well. So they all interlock, but if you wanted a straight edge, you can do a straight, sorry, I'm putting this in front of my face. You can do a straight edge. Also, the patterning that's on them, I don't know if you can see that, you can use as a ruler. So you don't have to, obviously you need a tape measure to kind of measure out how big you're blocking your thing to, but actually you can use the straight edge at the top, or you can use the grid that's on here, because it's quite an easy thing to pin your blocking boards for. Now, I've got bigger projects that are happening, like my sweater, my cardigan that lived. So I wanted a couple more, so I bought a couple more from her. I drove, so it was easy to take these in the car. I want to make a Lunar Revel shawl by Tina Say, which is I'll pop a photo there. It's like a big scalloped edged 3-colour knitted, I think it is in kind of short row garter shawls, and I had 2 skeins of River Knits yarn in the mermaid colourway and the kingfisher colourway, which I think go really well, but I wanted a 3rd skein, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to go one or another way. So I picked up 2 more skeins from them, from their little tiny shop. So I bought Shroom, which I love this colour anyway on its own, so that could be 1 set of 3. Basically the Lunar Revel shawl, it starts with one colour, then it fades in by doing alternate kind of stripes, small stripes into the middle colour, then it fades into the last colour, so kind of like that. It's a lovely looking shawl. And then the other option is Starry Night. Oh, I'm not sure. Or I could do Starry Night on the other side. Part of me's thinking shroom. Because there's some, you can see it on this end actually, there's some browny bits in Kingfisher and there's obviously greeny bits in shroom. This one or this one? What do we think? Answers in the comments. I'll probably put it as an Instagram poll as well. So yes, these have literally just come out of the freezer today. So they've had their 15 days in the freezer. Right, then, Johnny was there from Garthnall. With a really nice selection actually. So they have their, I think it was their #1 is their lace weight, which is undyed. And they've just released, it's not even on their website yet, they're dyed. So they've been slowly introducing colour dyes into their yarn. So they used to be all natural and now they've kind of been slowly introducing theirs. And this is their Cairngorm range, and it's organic Romney lambswool. And it's lace weight. It is 350 meters to 50 grams. It's a single flock organic Romney lambswool. And it's from Wiltshire, so it's literally down the road from me. The dark blue is Blazer, which made me very happy because my school blazer was this colour in primary school. And then Sicily is this colour. And these are going to be going into another Avonee Tunisian pattern called Selkie. And I'll pop a picture here. It is, again, short row Tunisian crochet, but she does these little swirls. You do the swirls of this kind of Selkie is like a mermaid. Yeah, a Selkie is a mermaid-ish. And she does these swirls which are kind of like the sea, which is going to be the Sicily colourway, and then you border it with some straight rows, which will be the dark blue. But yeah, so what I love about Garthnall is they're very specific about where their yarn is sourced from, how it's treated, how the sheep are treated, how it's processed, all that kind of stuff. So it is, it's all UK produced, which is really cool, and it's certified organic basically. It produced to global organic textile standards, and I love this single flock. So I could probably ask Johnny and go and see where these sheep are because I'm so close. We actually had a really nice conversation about Romney. So those of you who've been watching for a while will have seen my barbel hat, and the cream colour that was the sheep in my barbel hats that I made is Romney wool from the flock at Blenheim Palace. And we had a conversation about, like, did I know any more about it? Do you know how much they produce? Because obviously single flocks, unless you have quite a large flock, it's actually, you lose money to get it processed and milled and spun and all that kind of stuff. So if you did it by yourself, so he was quite interested to hear how they did it. So I'm probably going to get in touch with Blenheim and see what they do with their yarn and what their process is. And I know it was quite expensive. My mother-in-law bought it for me, and I can't remember how much it was, but I know it was relatively expensive. So they're obviously recouping their costs, hopefully. But yeah, so that's that. I think that's. Oh, I also, from Faye, I bought some Crochet Luna pins. I love her pins, and they're everywhere now. So there's the Shawl Project one that's on my Mr. Kingfisher. I've also put nobody puts crochet in the corner on my, this is my Truly Hooked blanket, which I'm not showing you today. And where's the other one? Oh, on my Rivennets Hide and Hammer bag is Equal Opportunity Yarn Lover. All yarn has a place for me. So yes, right, spotlight. So for the last couple of times I've done spotlight, all the times I've done spotlight, I've done a maker of colour. And there's been a discussion on Instagram. There's always a discussion on Instagram, isn't there? But do you know what? I like it. there are a lot of people that are getting really angsty about the new thing that everyone's talking about, that's a bit of an issue. But actually, what I love about the conversations that started in January, it's sparked off more conversations about different subjects that are an issue, and it's given people the confidence to speak up, which actually I'm not going to complain about at all. So we've had conversations about pattern pricing, we've had conversations about indie dyed yarn and is it affordable, and we've had things about should test knitters be compensated, what else, sizing of patterns. So as someone who is not the smallest, there are actually, so I'm a 40, depending on the day, I'm a 44 to a 42 inch bust, and actually there are some patterns that don't fit me. I'm a UK size 16 at the moment. Sometimes I fluctuate down to a 14 or a 12 depending on the day, depending on what I've eaten in the last couple of months, but yeah, at the moment I'm a 16, and don't get me started on some high street shops and how I can fit in their places. I'm looking at UH&M, but actually when you're excluded from knitting patterns and crochet patterns, that's also a bit of an issue. So there's been a lot of conversation about that, and if you want to go and see some of the conversations that we had, Fat Test Knits on Instagram is a really good one for that. But I'm going to concentrate on the pricing stuff. So there's been a lot of conversation about pricing of indie dyed yarn and also patterns, and actually are patterns as cheap as they are compared to sewing patterns, say. So sewing patterns, you could spend £10, even up to £15 on a sewing pattern, whereas on maybe the equivalent of a knitting or a crochet pattern, you might be spending £6 to £8, maybe up to £10, but I don't think I've spent more than £10 on a pattern. And actually, is that fairly compensating the designer, and what are their costs behind that? And actually then it went down the scale of, actually if they incurred costs like paying test knitters or compensating test knitters in more than they currently are, because a lot of test knitters we basically just, and I include myself because I've test knit and crocheted things, we're basically doing because we're really interested in the pattern, we love a free copy of it, we want to make it first, and we've got the yarn available. But who was it? Little Skein Anne, so she's Little Skein in the Big Wool. She started a conversation about, well, actually I'm going to start paying my test knitters. So that kind of, so it's kind of looking at pattern designers and actually what are their costs? Are they covering their costs? Because there are some designers who offer things for free, there are some designers that offer things for a couple of quid, and there's some designers that will ask for £8, £9 per pattern. So there's been a lot of conversation about that, and two people in specifically, one a pattern designer and one a yarn dyer, have come up with an idea of pay what you can. So they are kind of operating a bit of an honesty box here, where they're saying, this is what it costs me, this is what I currently charge, this is what it actually costs me, but actually we want to make sure that there are people that can't afford it that can try and do it. So Frenchie from Aroha Knits has now implemented a pay what you can system on her patterns, all of her patterns. There are some that she's made free, and there's some that she's put this pricing structure on, and the top one is actually covering her entire costs, covering her, giving her a wage, la la la. There's then a sliding scale of lower down, like pay what you can. Literally pay what you can. If you feel that you can't afford that top bracket for her patterns, pay what you can. Another person on the yarn dyeing side is Verity from Truly Hooked. Now, I was one of the people that told her she shouldn't do this. So currently Verity's skeins of kind of standard sock are about they're £17 for 100 grams, 425 metres, yeah, for her standard sock. She hasn't changed her pricing for quite a long time, and that because she's obviously become more successful, she now has to pay VAT, or has to be VAT registered, which actually means she's earning less from her skeins now than she was 4 years ago, say, because she's kept her price at the same time and she hasn't passed on the VAT value added tax. We have it in the UK, different countries have different types. So she's not passed on that cost of being VAT registered onto her buyers. What a skein actually should cost is £20. So what she decided to do a bit of an experiment for a couple of months and say, okay, I'm going to put 6 different colourways. She still has, most of her yarn is at her normal price, but some of her skeins, I think it's 6 colourways, are on this pay what you can. So she's put them at £20, which is covers her VAT, covers her costs, earns her a living wage, allows her to pay her rent, pay her bills, take her kids out for a day of fun, earn her and her husband, because they both work on Truly Hooked, a decent wage. So that's £20. So that's then covers the VAT. 17 is her current cost, which doesn't cover her VAT. And then I think it's either 14 or 50 as a, if you really can't afford it, then there's that option too. What's been really nice, she's been doing it for a month, 3 weeks, is the majority of those skeins that she's sold in those listings have been at the higher price. There've been a couple, and it's meant that there's been a couple that have been bought at a lower price, but she's been able to cover it. Obviously, you have to rely on the honesty of the people that are buying, that they're not just going to take the piss. Excuse my language, take the mick. So it's a risk. It was a risk. It seems to have worked. But we'll see, and she said this as well, we'll see how it goes when things start to die down. Her listings in her, and I urge you to go and have a look at on her posts, her listings on her shop do fully explain, this is the cost for da-da-da, this is the current cost and this covers da-da-da, this is the lower cost and this is why I'm offering it. So she's very articulate about why she's doing it. But yeah, so there are other people who are doing it, but those are the two main kind of ones I want to spotlight because they're kind of in my field of vision. But yeah, what do you think about the whole pricing thing? Are you happy to pay more for patterns if you know that that's covering people's costs? Are you happy to pay for yarn if that's the reason? I think Verity's yarn is at the less expensive range. I'm not going to say cheaper because there's a lot of work that goes into it, but I think hers are at the less expensive end of indie dyed yarns, and personally I would pay more than that. I would pay 25, yeah, for a decent skein of yarn, but there are some people that can't. So watch me down there. See, let me. Hello. I've just realised I've missed out. I'm in the edit and I've just realised I've missed out a really, really, really important thing that I was going to talk to you about. So I'm actually in my pyjamas. It's the day after, it's the evening. So the lovely Lisa, who is Lisa Raspberry Crochet on Instagram, came up with an idea to kind of work to combating the whole pricing issue and those who can't afford to buy the yarn, buy the patterns, all that kind of stuff. So she came up with the Craft Bank, which is now a group on Ravelry. So if you go into Ravelry and type in the Craft Bank into the group's search engine, I'll also pop a link in my show notes. She set this up, so there are forums on there for yarn on offer, patterns on offer, and we've just set up everything else. It's needles, hooks, accessories, books, notions, project bags. So pretty much everything other than the pattern and the yarn. Forums, which are, again, it's an honesty box, but it is somewhere that those of us who are a little bit more settled financially and can offer this kind of stuff, we can offer yarn that's in our stash that we might not need and we don't mind giving it away, as opposed to doing a de-stash and selling it. Offering patterns, even if you're a pattern designer, offering some of your own patterns, or for example, I and a few other people who aren't pattern designers have said that we will offer a pattern up to the value of £10 per month, and once that's claimed, that's claimed. And then those who are in a less able financially, who are less able financially to buy patterns, buy yarn, indie dyed yarn and things like that, they can go on. You don't have to message on the, you don't have to reply on the forum. If you don't want to, you can private message via Ravelry. The private messaging on Ravelry system is really good, although I wish it sent email notifications, because if I don't go on Ravelry the day I might have missed a message. Anyway, but yeah, and I'm a moderator. As soon as she set it up, I went, do you know what, I want to be part of this. So I go on and I help to make it a safe place. It is a safe place. We are working incredibly hard to make sure it is a safe place for everyone, so that no one feels judged or feels like they can't ask or can't request certain stuff. So you can request things as well if there's a particular pattern you have got your eye on and you really don't think you can afford it. You can go on there and request it if you wish. There is no shame in this. This is people helping other people out in our community, and we've been saying since January, oh, but there'll be people saying, oh, but we're such a nice community and la la la, and we know that it's not true for a lot of people now, particularly in the marginalised groups. There are people who are excluded. We're trying to combat that. We're trying to make sure that actually if you can't afford it, if your budget goes on something else, because this is a hobby, let's face it guys, this is a hobby for most of us, and actually sometimes the budget just won't stretch to hobbies, it's essentials only. So we want to help people out, so do go and have a look on that, and back to the regularly scheduled podcast. Right, life update. I've written this down rather than putting it on my phone, on my computer. So, I think in the last one I mentioned that we're moving. Yes, I did. So, our house is on the market now. There's some pretty pictures up on the web. And we've had a few viewings. The market, as I said, the market's not great at the moment. And we've gone and seen a lot of houses. We've done the 360-mile round trip 4 times now. I haven't found anything yet, so we're a little despondent about that. But back at it tonight, hopefully. So yeah, watch this space with that. I told my brownie unit last night that I'm planning on moving. My other leader is planning on leaving at the end of the term, so if we don't have anyone step in, then we are closing my unit, which is a really, really sad thing, but we'll see. Yeah, I've sent everyone away with leaflets to go and put in staff rooms and friends and family and all that kind of stuff. What else? Amelia had her sports day yesterday, her first ever one. It was sunny, thank goodness. And they did high jump, javelin, hurdles, and jumping over a river. Oh, and then they did a sprint as well. Was lovely. It was a really sweet little day. It was really nice. She had a bit of a bump halfway through, so kind of lost a bit of her confidence, but one of the teachers ran with her for the rest of the stuff, so it was fine. And had a lolly at the end. My mother-in-law, my husband's mum, came down. She's on her way to do something in Bristol, so came and stayed down, but actually the time it worked out that she could come to sports day as well, so that was really cool. So yeah, that was, she's really enjoying school now. Runs in, like literally park the car and she runs all the way in. So I'm really happy about that she's really enjoying herself, so win. What else? Oh, I don't get political on well, I try not to get political on this podcast, but UK people, the European elections are tomorrow. Go and vote. Hopefully I'll have edited this so that this comes out on the day of the European elections. If you haven't voted, go and vote. It's important, civic duty. Women died for our rights. Anyway, last one. So the week just gone was Mental Health Awareness Week. And those of you who follow me on Instagram will have seen that I posted something about the theme, which is body image. So it's the Mental Health Foundation kind of run it in the UK. And they posted some really interesting stats about body image and mental health. Now, I've not been shy about my issues with my body image. And a lot of people take that body image as size. As I said, I'm not a small girl, I'm not a big girl. I am a UK size 16, which is technically the average. but that's the biggest I've ever been in my life. However, what I concentrated on last week was actually my skin. So those of you who've watched before will know that I have eczema, and it's been at some point on my body, every part of my body. Not at the same time, thank goodness, because that would be hideous. But at some point it has been on pretty much every part of my body, apart from my scalp, although I'm developing itches on my scalp, which I think is it going into my scalp, which I am not looking forward to. For the last 20 years, it's been on my face and my neck, in various stages of horribleness. Just checking the time to make sure that I'm not going to be late for a small person. So I posted a photo. Last week was not a good skin week for me. I was going to podcast last week and I just didn't have the confidence to. You'll notice that I don't wear makeup. I only wear makeup for very, very special occasions. I never wear things like foundation or tinted moisturiser. Concealer is very, very often pretty much the only makeup I wear will be mascara, eyeliner and some sort of lipstick sometimes. But the health of my skin is far more important than what I look like in terms of makeup, so I don't wear it. I went through a phase where I did. My skin has never been worse, basically. And there are products that are better or don't make it as bad as other products, I think is probably the way of saying it. But yeah, so what you see is warts and all. And I do this a lot because that's what I've just kicked my tripod. That's what skin disorder people do, is that they're constantly checking to make sure there's no loose skin, and if there is, they're picking it, and just to make sure that everything is in place. That's what I do. And I'll do this a lot because that's where my eczema is at the moment, right there. I've also got some on my eyelid, which is not helpful, and there's a little bit right there as well. I've always got some sort of thing going on with my neck, but actually it's not too bad today. Go and read my post on Instagram for more of me talking about it, but a lot of body image issues I think stem from other people. So a lot of my body image issues are from some bullying I received when I was 15, 16. And it's the reason why I moved schools when I was 16. I went from an all-girls school to an all-boys school for sixth form, and that was deliberate. And I'm very glad I did it. The main reason was because boys don't notice. They're so unobservant. And if they do notice, they don't say anything. Women, I'm saying women because actually women can be, some of the stuff that's going on Instagram right now, like women can be horrible, like proper witches. And that starts early. It's a learned concept, it's a learned trait, but it starts early. So I was bullied because apparently I was contagious at school. And that has affected stuff all the way up to now. There's also other stuff, but a lot of it stems from that. I just wanted to kind of make you aware that Mental Health Awareness Week happened. It's not just a week that we think about it and then stop thinking about it. It's important that we always consider people's mental health in our interactions, because awareness is growing, but there's more to be done. Reach out to someone if you haven't heard from them in a while and you're worried about them. Talk. It's always nice to talk. Anyway, my battery is flashing at me, so I am going to go. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this time's podcast. I'm not going to say this week or this fortnight or this month because I come on when I can. And I will see you in the next one. Bye! Is your parting straight, Sophie? No, not at all. Do you care? Not really. Oh, you're gonna play with the palm now. Get comfy. Yeah, I'll do. Bit further. Okay. Okay. If I forget it. Right. You've been recording that entire time. Haha. Oh, your hair is a mess. But I do like the blonde on camera. So I actually look like I'm wearing something. I feel like I'm being blinded today. I'll deal with it. 16. Right.